I'm going to let this run, Joey, for a second because I'm going to set up a Rumble stream too so we can stream live to Rumble. We are live.
Awesome.
This software is so much better. It just makes life so much easier. I just put us live on Rumble, so we're live on YouTube, Rumble, and Facebook simultaneously right now, which is amazing.
Well, while we were waiting, I checked out Rumble for the first time, and I've never heard of that until you said it the other day. So
it's a nice platform, and I'll give you kind of the quick bird's eye overview of what it is. It's kind of a red-pilled, like right-wing platform is what the people call it, but really it's a free speech platform because especially during COVID, people that were censored on YouTube went over to Rumble and started streaming there because Rumble, it doesn't have anywhere near the infrastructure that YouTube does. Let's be honest.
Right.
The platform is not as evolved as YouTube, but they're much more open about speech than YouTube is. Like
we can talk about Ted Nugent on Rumble.
Yes. Yes. It's a good platform. And honestly, I have to say one thing I've noticed is because I watch I have connected TV, so I watch YouTube and like apps. Most people do at this point. But Rumble's app on my connected TV, the quality is superior to YouTube. It's like a cleaner, better quality platform already. So they're on to something there. Yeah. And no disrespect to YouTube, because I mean, I love YouTube, but you know, YouTube better watch out, because if they're going to continue down this path of like, we're going to censor everything, there's now, you know, the market has created some opposition. So anyway, Rumble's a great platform, and there's not a lot of music type content on there. It's a lot of it's political. Yeah. So I figured, what the hell, you know, let's put our stuff up on Rumble.
Whatever.
Yeah.
I'm game. Especially if it's easy using this. So
yeah, I mean, this thing is so much nicer. The thing I really disliked about Zoom is and no disrespect to Zoom either, because I love Zoom too, but I couldn't, because I paid. I had like a premium account, and I still get the Zoom logo in the live streams. Like you couldn't remove that. And so with what we're using now with StreamYard, not only can we just very easily do centralized streams to multiple platforms, but we can also brand it with our logo and you know, I can easily throw in like a overlays. I'm going to start doing more of that, like graphically enhanced overlays that we can throw in for, you know, with little what do they call them, lower thirds for our guests that have their name and their.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool.
I mean, you can do it on the fly in StreamYard, but I want to make some custom ones that have our branding and our little logo and stuff, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, we got Dino coming in today. A lot of stuff getting booked too. Johnny from Typo, he couldn't make it to our stream the other day, but I've been talking to him about just having him on his own come in, because that guy, in addition to playing in Typo Negative, he plays in Quiet Riot, he plays with Danzig, and he plays in a band called Kill Devil Hill. Which, have you heard any of that stuff, Joey?
Just a little bit that you've sent me.
That new record I just reviewed, it's really good. Like, I think you would dig it, because it's like it's like, it reminds me a lot, has very heavy Alice in Chains vibes. A lot of, like, it's really melodic, but then he does some of the scream vocals. Their vocalist is great, but Mark Zavon, the guitarist and kind of like the brains behind it, it's really, I think, mostly his riffs. He played with like Stephen Pearcy from Rat, and he's toured with like a bunch of you know, high level like music legends. But it's good stuff. I think you would dig it, specifically because it's got the same kind of, I think it fits into the world a little bit. And I you know, I don't want anyone to take this right. I think it fits into like that kind of more groove oriented, like a Shine Down type vibe, or like Seven Dust, even like a lot more just like, but then very Alice in Chains, and the album has a lot of diverse grooves on it. Like it's not boring. There's like 15 tracks, and they all sound different and stuff. So it's good stuff.
When you told me about them, I looked them up, and it said the band is named after the town of Kill Devil Hills, North Carolina, a location renowned from pirating days.
Yeah. Like, so I interviewed Mark Zavon a couple weeks ago, and we talked about that. I was like, that is a cool name. Talk about where the name came from. And so I don't know if you know this, but Kill Devil was pirate slang for rum, because it was kill the devil. So Kill Devil Hill was where the pirates supposedly would stash their rum. And they would come back to get it. But then it also has some relevance to like the history of flight. Like, I think the Wright brothers are somehow involved, or something, because it's in North Carolina.
Oh, sure. That's around that area too.
Yeah. So I was like, man, not only is it a cool ass name, it also has some kind of historical context.
Yeah, because when I first heard the name, I'm like, oh, that's a different sounding name. What does that mean? And I typed it in, and I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I'm always tripping on that. Like, I saw there's this band called Ice Nine Kills. Have you seen that name?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, that's a really weird name. Like, it doesn't make sense. And then I was like, oh, it's because the letters of each word spell out ink. It's INK. So it's like, I feel like some people do stuff like that, you know, like Jimmy Eat World, for example.
Yeah, I mean, we should do a segment sometime on the weirdest or corniest names or something like that.
Band names.
Yeah.
terrible band names.
Because I mean, there's some bands I like their music, but the music or the name just like, ugh.
Yeah. Good example being Pig Destroyer. Like I love Pig Destroyer has some really great stuff, but that's the dumbest name. It's like, dude, come on. That's like something I would have scrawled into my 7th grade notebook or something.
I was thinking more along the lines of like Corn.
Yeah, I mean,
when you think of it, that in the music world, that just becomes like, oh, I know that's a great band, you know. But like when you actually think about it, like,
yeah,
Corn, like what a dumb band name.
Yeah, it's so funny. I used to play with these guys, and I'll never forget this. Our drummer was such a troll. He was the funniest dude. We're like trying to come up with a name for our band, and he goes, "How about Corn with a C?" He's like, "We're Corn with a C."
That is funny.
I'm like, well, I know what that connotates. Our music is corny. Band names. So we got Dino coming on today. That should be an interesting conversation. Dino, obviously, kind of the brains behind Fear Factory, and Fear Factory newly reformed with a new lead singer, who is killing it. You saw them live, right?
I saw them here in Minneapolis, in April, and they were really good. Yep. I'm excited for the next couple of weeks. I mean, we got some stuff in the works. I was just talking to Zayo about having them on, and
awesome.
So it'll be fun.
It's so funny. My son and I were talking about. So he's putting a band together for his battle of senior year. Like they're putting together a Battle of the Bands project, and they're going to do a Norma Jean song.
Cool.
They're doing Sword in Mouth. I love that song. And he was telling me, he's like, I sent this to this kid who's like a really killer guitarist, and he had never even heard of Norma Jean. And he's like, that song is fire. Wow. And I was like, yeah. And it's crazy how these bands, a band like Zayo or Norma Jean, to us who follow metal and follow underground music, are huge. But like to a lot of people, they have no idea. It's crazy. They have no idea what a great catalog a band like Zayo or Norma Jean has.
Well, you know, it's funny though, Dustin, because like even us doing this regularly now, like just talking to you, being a little bit older or whatever, like I'm hearing some of these influential bands I've never heard of, you know, from you. And I check it out and I'm like, wow, I didn't realize how big this band was back in the 80s or whatever. And so we all got our thing, our little era that we got into or follow. And there's a whole world of music out there that we don't even know about.
Yeah, I've said it so many times. Like, there's so many bands that we talk to on here that I probably wouldn't dig that deep into otherwise. And I love that. It's like I don't know if you've ever followed that guy Anthony Fantano, the Needle Drop, but he's like kind of a popular YouTube music critic, and you know, I don't always agree with his takes. Sometimes he's kind of, I'm like, but it's like one of those things where if I didn't know his show or hadn't watched certain things, there are certain artists I would never have heard about, you know? So I feel like at the very least, we can maybe do that for some of these bands that don't have kind of the platform that some of the others do. So it's been fun. And what's cool about this too, man, is it's like this kind of naturally evolved into what it is now. And it's like I just rewatched our conversation with Kenny the other day from Type O, and just listening to him talk, it's like, it's so cool. Like, it's like I just have to sit there and go, wow, this is a guy who I ultimately is like one of my heroes. Like, I look up to this guy. He wrote songs that fucking enhanced my life, you know? And it's so cool to just like sit down and talk to him like person to person, even though it's over a webcam, and ask him questions about music and relate to him about certain songs and shit like that. It's like this whole thing has been really cool for that reason alone.
Yeah. But I mean, this digital platform, that's the new way of hanging out nowadays. So
yeah,
it's like hanging out. So
it makes it easy. It's funny too, because it's such a dichotomy, because, you know, you have the divisiveness of like social media on one hand, but then I feel like these kind of things bring people together in ways that, like, you know, obviously we weren't able to come together before so easily. It just makes it so easy to get together.
Right. Yeah.
Do we have news items today? Do you want to try to run
We do.
through
I
some
had
of
these
those?
ready the other day, but just getting on this new platform and stuff, we ran out of
Yeah.
time. But
That's all me. You were right too. I got to give you credit. In my heart of hearts, I knew it too. I thought about it before. I was like, Dustin, maybe you should just stick to Zoom on this one.
No,
You
it
know what I
worked
mean?
out fine.
Yeah.
It just we had to work out some kinks and stuff at first, but
I'm the kind of person too who throws myself into the fire, right? It's like I have to do that. I have to learn the hard way.
my
Like
wife's like that too. She's like, if she's excited about something, she's diving head first without even
Yeah.
thinking. And sometimes
Check the depth first. Like,
sometimes that's what you need. You need people like that. You know what I mean? But then
yeah.
other times you need people to say, let's just hold off a second.
Rein it back just a tad, you know?
It's all good. Yeah. So I don't know. Am I going to have to share this, or are you able to share
No,
it?
see, let's try it. Like, let's let you do it.
Well, the one thing I'm nervous about is this this YouTube thing, this 6-second thing. But
yeah, just try to time it as best as
I'll
you
try
can.
best
In
I
a
can.
worst case scenario, the thing that's cool about this is we have recording of it, so I know we'll be fine on Rumble because they're pretty lenient.
Sure.
Facebook actually even with the typo broadcast where I cut in kind of the like little clips of songs, Facebook was like, we can't play this in certain like geos where we don't have the music rights or something, but everywhere else it's available. So
that's so bizarre.
Yeah. I mean, for the most part, we'll try to just keep it as long as
what's funny, the song I'm about to reference is like 40 years old. Like,
yeah,
they've made enough money on this thing. It's okay if we play 7 seconds,
right.
But so I saw this article, faroutmagazine.uk or something here, but he was talking about the song Ride the Lightning by Metallica. And it mentioned that Lars Ulrich, it's the only Metallica song that Lars vocals are on. And like that caught my attention. And I'm like, really? Like, is he singing? What's he doing? So I read this, and the guy writes, while Ulrich will admit that he's not meant to be in front of the stage, he wouldn't add vocals in the traditional sense. Since the song deals with themes of a wrongfully accused person being sentenced to death by electrocution, Ulrich provides the man's screams as he meets his end. As Hetfield screams the line, "I don't want to die," Ulrich can be heard yelling in agony in the background, which becomes difficult to hear amid the chugging riffs and bass flourishes by Burton. When taken out of context, Ulrich's yelps are bone-chilling, perfectly depicting a man at the end of his rope as he bids farewell to his life. So I went back to the song and listened to it, and I'm like, I've heard that so many times, and I've never made the connection that it was the guy dying, and that it was Lars doing it. You
just thought it was like the background vocal track.
Yeah, it was
that's
just
how
like,
it's supposed to sound.
But I'm like, oh, that's what that's about, and it's Lars. So I just thought that was kind of cool. And have I been missing out on this for years? Did you know that was Lars?
I had no idea. I don't even I'm like I can vaguely hear the part of the song, but I haven't listened to Ride the Lightning in a long time.
It's a great song. I know it's not like super high on their playlist, but it's a great song.
It was my favorite. That was my favorite Metallica album for such a long time. I remember seeing James talking about how he hates the song Trapped Under Ice.
Yeah.
Which I was always like, that is a weird song. I was like, I'm trapped under ice. How'd you get trapped under ice, bro? Like, take your friend.
It takes a while to freeze like that.
Yeah, if you're gonna go ice fishing, take a friend, homie. Like, you can't.
Oh my gosh! But anyways, I can play this scream for anyone who wants to do it.
Yes,
or listen to it.
Let's definitely hear it.
Copyright
gods be damned.
So I hit present here.
Yeah,
right.
It should work. If we have a problem, you can send it. You can send it to me, but you should be able to share just like I can. I would imagine. Let me know if you have any problems. There might be a switch I have to hit or something.
All right, here we go.
There you go.
Can you see that?
Yep. I just have to add it to the stream for you.
All right. Let me know when I'm good.
You're good. Oh, wow. That's crazy.
So I've never picked that out before. I guess it was just kind of background noise to me as it's going on, you know, but I'm like, wow, that's cool.
That is amazing. I like, honestly, you could hear it clearly defined too. And it's just one of those things about like with production that you don't pay attention to. Like a lot of people just don't pay attention to that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to die. You know, you hear that line from Hetfield and
he's like, it sounds like Lars too. Like it totally sounds like his voice.
So now that I know it's there, I can't not hear it. So it's kind of cool.
It's amazing. Like I said, I love production for that matter, because it's like you can hear there's certain stuff that's just there that you don't consciously kind of pay attention to.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a great example of that, because I've heard that song a million times,
mm-hmm.
but I've never consciously paid attention to that little piece of sound, that scream.
Yep.
Until you just.
Well, and we talked about that a few weeks ago too, with that Alice in Chains song, you know, with Tom. Yeah.
Yep.
And it's like, once you hear it, you can't not hear it. So
it's so funny. Yeah. It's so true too, because once you pointed that out again, I was like, oh, that's totally his voice.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds just like him.
So
I almost think you should play that one more time.
Oh shoot! No, I lost it.
It's okay. No worries. People can rewind.
Go find it.
Yeah. It's so obviously Lars. That's great.
So then the other thing I want to share with you, and again, maybe this guy's been around for a long time and I never realized it, but there's this YouTube guy. His name is Bernth. I think he's from Austria.
I don't know if I even know who this is.
Yeah. So he, and I don't know how I can play this whole video and you hear a good chunk of the song or whatever, but he took a guitar, cut the neck off of it, and he wrote a song. So he's just like holding the head or whatever you call that,
mm-hmm.
and playing with the pickups and stuff. And this song sounds awesome. So I don't know. Hopefully I can.
Yeah, when you share your screen, I just have to add it into the stream, basically.
Okay. I'm just going to play this one. I don't know if it's copyright or what, but
there's usually fair use. I mean, it also depends on the person.
Well, here again, I'm trying to promote this guy. Like this song is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
I like what he's doing here. So Bernth, if you find out about this, let us play this. All right. Let me know when we're good.
Got you added. There you are.
All right.
Oh, wow.
4, 3, 2,
that is sick.
1. Levitate.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that
super cool, man.
Isn't that sick?
My son would love this. I'm going to have to show this to my son.
So, I mean, obviously, you know, the final product, he's adding a lot more stuff in here, but like just watching him play this thing, I'm like, this guy is onto something kind of cool. Just experimenting with stuff.
That's next level, because when it comes to music now, it's like it's all been done. So how do you break outside the lines and do something like that? Is just so outside the box and so next level. It's still a live instrument, but he's just manipulated the instrument to do something that it's never done before. That's what Van Halen did,
right?
You know, like in his own way. Like he wasn't cutting the entire neck off.
Yeah, speaking of Van Halen, I've been reading this book and it's so good. Just hearing the backstory of Eddie doing what he did, and no one was doing it at the time, and they're all trying to figure out what he's doing. And
what is that? That's not his biography. Is it a book someone else wrote? Who's the author?
Paul Brannigan.
Okay.
I mean, it seems like it's pretty legit. Like this guy really did his research and stuff like that. But yeah, it's a pretty good book. but yeah, I got more appreciation for Eddie Van Halen since I've been starting reading that. Just the way he was experimenting with things and class act. But yeah, this guy, I like this guy on
Do you want to show
YouTube
more of
here.
it?
No, that's fine. People can check him out, but he's got some other videos and stuff.
Burnt.
Yeah, but yeah, I'd recommend people checking out this whole song. It's pretty short, but it's just got a really good groove and stuff. So
Yeah, like I said, I'm such a fan of people that are just taking things to the next level. There even bands. It's like we talked about with new metal the other day, that people get on a certain sound kick and then it becomes the thing. Like after new metal, it's djent, right? Like after Meshuggah and like those types of bands, it kind of like everyone has an element to that. It's kind of like that trickles down into the rest of the industry. So how do you break outside that like typical sound and do something that's completely new to a degree? I mean, nothing's completely new, let's be honest, but
right.
What's that quote? I think it was Picasso who's like, good artists borrow, great artists steal.
Oh, right.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's a Picasso quote. Don't, I don't want to Google it right now, but.
Well, just speaking of that, and I wasn't going to make this a news story, but I saw an article. Dino must have done a interview or something not too long ago where he talked about like if Fear Factory had gone more new metal, how would it have turned out? Would they have gotten bigger and things like that? And he wasn't saying like, oh, I wish we did, but he was just saying, we kind of were in between the new metal and like really heavy, and there was haters on both sides or whatever. And but it just makes me think like I actually kind of like that Fear Factory never went one way or the other. They kind of had their own thing.
Yeah, totally. They were industrial, but not industrial. Like those records, those Demanufacture and Obsolete are just like, those are landmark metal records. I mean, those are in the pantheon of classic, heavy thrash records of all. Like Dino can wear that badge proudly. Like he is the man when it comes to I mean, he's one of the pioneers of that style for sure. I remember seeing an interview with him where he was talking about showing their stuff, I think it was Demanufacture, we can ask him about it, to Vinny and Dime. And Vinny was like, oh, that's all a computer, right? And he's like, no. That's real drums. Like,
yeah, and I kind of put Dino up there with like Max Cavalera, where it's like these guys are so underrated for what they've done and who they are in the metal world, but they're also like down to earth guys. Like you can go talk to them after a show and, they'll take your picture with you or whatever. Like just real guys. They're not trying to be some hot rock star,
Yeah.
And I really respect them for that.
I think it's a similar thing with the guys from Typo, right? It's like, these people are they're legendary musicians. Like they don't, maybe not everyone holds them up on that level, but like Fear Factory is a band that, holy shit, they blazed trails.
Right.
Like, and same with Typo, it's like, and like you said, these guys are, they're legends, living legends to me, like, and they're down to earth people. They're not like, they don't have a big head about it, but like Kenny said something on that broadcast we did with them that I thought was pretty on point about musicians in general. And it's like people hold musicians on a different level because of the way that the way that music affects your life.
Oh, sure. Yep.
It's such a personal thing. And so you associate music with like a very, very personal events in your life. So the musicians who create that music, like that Typo record is like the soundtrack to so many great times in my youth. And like same with the Fear Factory stuff, like Obsolete and Demanufacture, like were in my CD player when they came out. And yeah, I mean, Dino does not get near enough respect for being, one of the forefathers of modern thrash, the sound of modern thrash metal. For sure. Like one of the guys who definitely had a huge hand in shaping it.
Modern thrash, I would put him and Cavalera on that Mount Rushmore.
Oh, the Cavalera brothers. Like I honestly want to see them. Someone just mentioned Igor in the comments, but I honestly want to see the new Sepultura. It's the Cavalera Conspiracy, the two brothers back together. They're doing like, I mean, obviously for contractual reasons, they probably can't play like the Arise era or like Chaos AD or that kind of stuff.
Oh, I think they can live.
I'm sure they
play
can,
anything live.
They're doing like the OG.
Oh yeah.
Like the early like underground stuff that they probably own all the rights to.
Right.
I would imagine. I mean, I don't know, but whatever the case, they like re-recorded it. I think they're kind of like pulling the Taylor Swift thing, where it's like, oh, we're gonna re-record this so we own the rights to it.
Sure.
Which is why not?
Yeah, they're coming here, and I'd like to go see it, but like as a photographer, I hate the venue that they're gonna play at.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Eric, I don't know if I want to go.
You can just go as a fan at that point.
Yeah, I could.
Know that like
it's just so hard. Like every show I go to now, I take pictures and stuff. It's like part of the show experience, and
right.
But
so you're like, that's a huge factor.
It is.
It is. Yeah.
It's so sad now. I've gotten older. I don't want to be up in the pit with all the sweaty dudes and stuff. I want to sit back and just take pictures.
To each his own, man. Yeah. I mean,
do you still get in the pit?
That's all I want to do is get sweaty dudes.
Really?
On me. No. I'm being sarcastic. I mean, honestly, I do
get in the pit though?
Get in the pit. I do.
You do?
Yeah.
Okay.
My old ass still gets in there. I feel like I was just watching video of Pantera, a bunch of like Jason Momoa in the pit at Pantera. It was like pretty weak pit compared to like the way pits used to be.
Right.
Like at Pantera shows. Like I remember seeing a Pantera show at Saltaire, I think, in Salt Lake City, and everywhere was a pit. Like you couldn't. No person in that building was standing.
There's no safe spots.
Yeah. And also though. The thing that's always cool about those shows is there's such a strong sense of community that no one ever lets someone get hurt. It's like if someone gets down, everyone's there pulling them up. Like we don't want no one getting trampled. We're not trying to ruin our good time. We're not trying to hurt anyone. Yeah, you're trying to get sent home maybe with a black eye or a couple bruises.
Right.
Some battle.
You're trying to get hurt, but not that hurt.
Hurt, but not hospitalized.
Yes. Yeah, I remember some of those early Norma Jean shows. Oh my gosh, they got wild. Like their original singer. I mean, he'd climb up the pole of this tent and just jump off into the crowd and like
Skogan.
Yeah, you can't do that nowadays.
You know what I realized too is we've talked a lot about Norma Jean and we never talk about the Chariot, which is
I never got into them.
Really?
It was a little too chaotic for me.
I think the reason I like it is because of the guitar sounds, because it's very like feedbacky and like guitar noise oriented. They honestly, man, there's a couple songs I think. I mean, they have such a huge catalog too, and I think I definitely lean towards Norma Jean. I think what Corey Brandon did with that band is just phenomenal. Like I always tout him as one of the metal vocalists I love for the way that he sings. It's unique. Like even on their I was listening to their newest album, the Death Rattle Sing For Me has some great shit on it. There's a song on there that's so heavy. It's like 3 minutes long. And it's got like some weird characters in it, but I think I can't remember the title. Anyway, his vocal style is what I love because he has I love anyone, and Corey from Slipknot does this well too, that can put like sandpaper in their voice but still sing melodically. It's like a gruff, abrasive melody. James Hetfield is probably the king of it. Like he has that like the grindy but like melodic vocal.
Well, I just saw Seven Dust the other night, and Lejean does that.
Lejean is amazing.
Yeah,
that guy is. Yeah,
I mean, my wife turned to me and she's like, "You can hear like the grit in his voice, but he sings so beautiful."
Yeah, he's got a soul singer voice, man.
Yeah.
That's what. I don't know. Maybe we shouldn't go too far down this road, but have you heard that Oliver Anthony guy? Have you heard of that whole thing? He was just on Joe Rogan. This guy.
Is that
the rich man of North.
Yeah.
Guy.
Okay.
Yeah, with the
I guess I didn't know his name, but
yeah, that guy, and we don't have to go too far in it. Love him or hate him, I think the song is great. It communicates points that bring, I think, cross political divides. It makes the subject a class thing, where he's talking about, hey, I've been working this tough job for shit pay, like everything's falling apart, like he's bringing people together. But the whole reason I brought him up is he has a very soulful voice, and I think that's what why the song is so good, why it got across to so many people, is you can kind of
it's real.
Kind of hear
there's so much. There's so few music nowadays that's real.
Yeah,
like this guy's singing from his heart, and he's using real talent, and
it's raw. I really do think we touched on this a little bit when we talked to Kenny, but I really do think that people are there is a backlash to the over processing of music. Like I feel like people crave that kind of real raw sound, and that's not to take anything away from people that do use processing, because I mean it's a huge part of a lot, especially now. Like I just got some electronic drums, and someone gave them to me, so like I definitely didn't have the money to go out and buy a pair, but they're kind of cool because I have them run through this PA, and it's obviously nowhere near as good as acoustic drums,
sure,
but it is cool in the sense that, hey, like I have a drum set that I can play through headphones if I want to practice late at night or something.
That's why we have an electronic drum kit here, so if my kids want to play it, plug in the headphones.
But by the same token, I can't play metal on it. I have to stick to funk because it's and that's why I got it for free. But it's like one of those kits that, like, if I get going, the response isn't fast enough, for what I'm playing.
For sure.
So it's not at the same level, but it's still like technology and obviously with Fear Factory, we can talk to I'm sure Dino can speak to this, because they were one of the first bands to really heavily blend technology with metal and successfully, and I want to ask him a little bit about there's this guy, I think his name's Rice Fulber, who was kind of like involved in the production aspects of Obsolete, and I think even he's almost like, I've heard that he's almost like a secret like fifth member of the band or whatever, but from what I understand, he like had some involvement with Skinny Puppy and stuff too. So like it's almost like Fear Factory brought in like an OG industrial guy from the industrial world, the world of industrial music. Because Skinny Puppy is like arguably, there's a bunch of bands in that world, like Front 242, Nights Areb. NIN was like one of the first of the industrial bands to like break through to the mainstream. Ministry started off as like a straight out synth pop band too. If you listen to their really old stuff, it's like they're trying to be Depeche Mode. It's like a lot more
interesting,
synthy. But I think that's a really cool. One of the cool things about Fear Factory is they kind of were one of the first bands to like really legitimately blend electronica and heavy metal,
Well, I had one more news thing I wanted to talk about since we have a little bit of time yet.
Yeah, we got Dino coming on in about 20 minutes. If you're joining early, thank you.
So this is just you probably don't have this so much living near LA and stuff, but like when you live up in the north, you always have to worry about critters on the road. And
roadkill.
Well, just even running across. But apparently, I saw this last week. Killswitch Engage. They must be touring in Sweden.
Careful, we've lost some good musicians.
Well, it was a close call here because their tour bus hit a moose.
Oh,
which, I mean, you're talking an animal that's like over 1,000 pounds at least, a bull moose or something,
Yeah.
And so Jesse, the singer of Killswitch, posted this short little clip of what their bus looks like after hitting a moose, and it thankfully wasn't way worse. And shoot, this is on Instagram, so I don't know how to like restart it.
Oh, you're fine. If you refresh the browser, like once you share it, you can refresh the browser.
Okay.
The cool thing about StreamYard too is it automatically just edits the window perfectly. I love it. Yeah, so you can just hit refresh and then unmute it.
Okay. He's just got music playing here, but like you can see the front of that bus.
Wow.
And I mean, think about a moose. It could have been way worse, right?
Moose are crazy. People don't understand. Like I grew up in Utah, right? I remember camping one night out in the woods, and we could hear this moose like trampling through the brush. We're like, holy shit!
Check this out. Look at that. Imagine driving that thing when that thing hit. I mean, it could have been way worse, but apparently their driver had some injuries, but it wasn't anything bad.
If you're like people I know that are like gun people, like they're like, oh, this is the perfect example for me to humanely shoot something. Like, I'm gonna jump out of the car now and cap this moose 5 times in the head.
Yeah, I mean, I've hit my fair share of deer, you know, and I mean, deer, that's bad enough. I mean, that can total a car, but like thankfully it was a bus, you know. If it was like a car or a van or something, they would have been goners.
A van, did you ever listen to the band Candiria at all?
Mm-mm.
They have this. They have an album called "What Doesn't Kill You," and they got into an accident. They were in literally like a rental van, like one of those little white rental vans, and the cover of the album is the van that they wrecked, or they were hit. They were hit, and it's crazy. They're lucky that they lived through that. I mean, a lot of them had to go through like rehabilitative surgery and stuff, but that shit is not uncommon when you're a band and you're out there on the road constantly. Shit happens. Like someone, you know, you're touring constantly. There's lack of sleep.
Right.
Some people are drinking. Some people.
Well, I was gonna say it's normally like lack of sleep or alcohol or something. Like, not too many bands hit a moose, but but yeah, I looked it up because I'm like, how far from where Cliff, you know, where that happened in Sweden, and it was quite a ways away, but still, it's just like, oh man, just thinking back to that.
Well, who was saying? I think it was Corey from Slipknot talking to Steve-O about it. And he was saying how the place where Cliff was killed, like the road, like they don't even, like most musicians don't even drive on that anymore. Like it
was like a town of 100 people or something. I think it was very small.
Flown to that area because it's so treacherous. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah. Well, so that's what I got for news, Dustin.
Sweden's rugged terrain. Well, we got 15 minutes to kill, so we got Dino joining us shortly here. We get in about 15 minutes, and we've just been talking about music in general, hyping up Fear Factory. Again, Fear Factory, one of those bands that kind of sits at the crossroads of electronica and actual heavy music. There was Strapping Young Lad, Devin Townsend's Strapping Young Lad project probably came out around the same time as Obsolete. Actually, now I want to look it up.
I think it was around when I was in high school.
Strapping Young Lad's City record, right? That was another band that, like, one of the first bands I ever heard really fusing heavy music with electronica. But let's hold on a second. So what's the City came out in 97.
Okay, I think Obsolete came out in 98.
Yep. July 28th, 1998. So those are around the same time. So yeah, I mean, that's like Strapping Young Lad is one band I can think of that is on par, like, you know, technical wise with Fear Factory, like doing stuff. But Fear Factory still, I think their style was more like the kick drum driven, like everything hits together, very precise. And Strapping Young Lad had some of that, but you know, there's definitely differentiation too. I think Devin, another guy who doesn't get enough credit for doing that scream sing thing very seamlessly. He's one of those dudes who has such a diverse voice. He's like able to easily like sing very beautifully in key and then just go right to you know, something super heavy. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, and so when did Demanufacture come out, right? Because Demanufacture is when Fear Factory was, that's 95. So good. Yeah. This guy in the comments saying Devin mentioned Fear Factory being an inspiration. So that makes sense because Demanufacture was 95. So even though City came out in 97, but even like if you dig into Devin was always fucking with industrial stuff too. Steve Vai found him, like he got his big break from Steve Vai being in that Sex and Religion project that Steve Vai had.
Okay, I didn't even know that.
You didn't know that?
No.
I actually did a thing called Bands of Yore about Sex and Religion where I went into this like Devin Townsend, like literally this is what a fucking nice guy Steve Vai is. So when you have to watch this Bands of Yore I did, because there's all this footage of Steve and Devin and when Steve did the Sex and Religion thing, Steve was like already a well-established like star because he had played with Frank Zappa. He had a pretty, I think he was playing with White Snake or some other like heavy band at that time. And he was like the dude, the LA dude who had a house in the hills with the pool already and shit and was like jet setting and and then he plucked Devin Townsend from obscurity, literally. Like he heard some demos. He had people send him demos and he plucked Devin out of obscurity from these demos and made him the singer of Sex and Religion. And so then this is why I'm giving you this backdrop, right? Is because Devin was so young, he got frustrated with the fakeness of like LA and the Hollywood scene and all that shit. And he did like all this crazy shit. Like he tells a story about like taking a shit in one of Steve Vai's guitar cases.
Oh, I think I did hear about that once.
Yeah.
Did we play that clip?
We might
a couple months ago or something.
I did a whole piece about Sex and Religion on Bands of Yore, but the Jay Leno, like he was on Jay Leno. There's like there's a whole bunch of video from that time. But anyway, to his credit, Devin Townsend now is like, I was so immature and young, and Steve Vai is a fucking saint, like one of the nicest, best people in the industry, like and so it's like that whole story is really
right
an interesting story. But Devin, to his credit, also is like, I owe everything to Steve. Like Steve totally plucked me out of obscurity and brought me into the industry. And this guy in the comments, he's like, Devin is fucking insane. Steve Vai's just standing there like, yeah. Like if you watch the Jay Leno performance that they did, it's great. And then like Steve Vai does this interview afterwards and he's like, yeah, like I was flying on my jet and like getting a suntan, and Devin Townsend is just like in this completely other world. Like he tells this story about like going and buying these like clothes to rip up and like he wrote shit on himself with markers. He like they did some prank where they like wiped their ass with Jay Leno's phone, or like the whole story is insane. The whole story is insane.
Where are you seeing these comments?
So I think they're coming from YouTube, but StreamYard, it's Kill Nye the Violence Guy. So shout out to Kill Nye the Violence Guy for
actually we got someone interacting with us. That's cool.
Yeah. Well, I mean, with YouTube, we've been pretty consistent, and this StreamYard thing is nice because it gives us the ability to. It's just so much better. It's like everything just drag and drop, right? Like where with Zoom, I'm like, how do I do this? And I have to like figure this out. And how do I get rid of the stupid logo? And StreamYard's like, hey, just pay us. And then we got like this hub. Here's like, you can throw your logo in.
Yeah.
You can, it just makes life easy. And a lot of people use it. So I learned about it from some other podcasters I know that do it. So
yeah, I'm always so embarrassed when it comes to technology stuff. I am such a dinosaur, man.
The thing is with this stuff, you don't have to be a Einstein, right? It's kind of like it all just works.
But like I'm not even aware of this stuff.
I mean, I wasn't either until I wanted to do it, because this broadcast kind of naturally evolved into what it is now. We were doing these interviews anyway, and so now it's like, why not just have this natural, like, open
for sure. And I credit you, man, for being the brains behind all this, but like, I don't know, it's just when we talk about it, I'm just like, I have no idea that this stuff even exists.
That's the joy of the internet, man. Like, I love the internet for that, because it's like you just find a community that, you know, I know there's a community of people that do these kind of podcasts, and a lot of it for me is from the politics side of things. I follow a lot of people on Twitter who do like political podcasts, and stuff like that, because honestly, right now, that's the best source of news. Like,
and there again, I'm a dinosaur. I don't do Twitter.
Yeah, I mean, not even just Twitter, but just like independent media. Like, there's a lot of YouTube channels and like Rumble channels, and just people on Twitter that have Substack, their own like a lot of the best reporters. Just to give you a really good example, do you know who Seymour Hersh is? So Seymour Hersh is a very famous reporter who exposed the My Lai massacre in the 70s during the Vietnam War. More recently, he exposed how the Obama bin Laden thing was a complete fraud by the CIA. Like, it was a completely made up story. Like, the whole thing, and a lot of people have no idea about this because, and listen, I don't want to get too into politics, but I'm someone who, I loved Obama. I voted for Obama, but that administration was so good at PR. They were so good at like presenting something on the front that they were like not really doing on the back. You know what I mean? And no disrespect. I like I said, I was an Obama person. I think Obama was a good president. I'm not disrespected, but I think what I've learned from that is media, like the best news, you're going to get the best news from like independent sources that aren't beholden to advertisers and kind of like, you know, the status quo.
Sure.
So anyway, full circle. That's how I learned about StreamYard and all this podcasting stuff, is just from podcasters that I follow that do political podcasts and like real news. Like, just to shout out someone, if you're into that world, The Gray Zone. The Gray Zone is like, because to me, news is about speaking truth to power, right? Like, there's a quote, I think it's William Randolph Hearst, who said, news is something someone doesn't want printed, everything else is advertising. Which I thought such a profound quote. You know, it's like so much news in America today is like, here's what we're going to tell you what the CIA and the FBI said about the CIA and the FBI. And it's like, here, we got this guy from the CIA to tell you what they said, you know, and it's like, okay, like if you're doing real news, you're doing something that's oppositional. Like real journalism is like getting at something that's yeah. So anyway,
one thing about me, I don't know if I've ever shared it with you. Like, I have no subscription to news things. The only time I go on news is if I'm like, hey, what's going on in the music world? That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
And
that's how
there's times like I'm super ignorant. Like, I remember a while back, you know, there was an earthquake somewhere in the world and I found out about it like 2 days later. So, I mean, I look really stupid and ignorant at times, but I also like, because I don't watch any news, I live a pretty happy life. You know, I'm just in my own little world, and
I think you're doing it right.
Focusing on my kids, and you know, it's just
the reality
stresses me out when I read all that other stuff.
The reality is you should focus on what you can control,
right?
Which is, you know,
my sphere of influence. You know,
things in your personal life, like like politically, like even voting. I don't think, you know, really matters that much. It's more
locally. I think it does, but
locally, there you go. Like in your local neighborhood, it does matter because you'll get people who can actually implement change that affects you locally. But
yeah, if I just read the news, I get so stressed out and worried. I'm like,
totally.
I don't need that in my life.
That's what it's for too. And that's and that's actually the exact point I'm making, is that when I do watch the news, I watch independent media, because again, I come from a marketing world and I know how beholden to advertising a lot of, you know, people are. So
yeah, my wife's the same way in the marketing and stuff, and she like scares me what she knows.
Yeah.
Like how things work behind the scenes and stuff. I'm like, wow.
I think I don't want to go too far down this road, but like a lot of advertising controls the dialogue, because some of these news outlets wouldn't even exist if it weren't for certain companies and election season is another thing. It's like the election thing has spiraled out of control to the point where there's literally, I call it the election industrial complex, because with Citizens United and the like, where they removed the cap in spending on election. I mean, the last election I think was the highest price tag of any yet. And it's like all these interests just dump money in. And what's really scary about the way it works now is like foreign countries and foreign influencers can dump money in through black, through dark packs and stuff now. Like, and have you ever heard of the term astroturfing?
No, I learned so much from this.
Anyway, astroturfing is basically companies make up these fake like front groups, like tax Americans for lower taxes or whatever. And it's really like a company investing all this money with like clip art models and stuff. So anyway, there's a lot of that kind of shit, but we got Dino coming on in a few minutes. I'm going to shut up about politics stuff.
We got Kill Nye still commenting. I like this guy.
Yeah, he's got good takes. You
Way
got
to
good takes.
interact. Yeah, that's awesome.
And you have a cool screen name, so just hopefully if Bill sees your screen name, he doesn't take it the wrong way. He doesn't think you're out to get him.
Oh man.
So we have I'm in the process of trying to book Johnny from Typo Negative, who also plays with Quiet Riot, Danzig, and I Am, and I mean this guy's and Kill Devil Hill. I keep going back to that because I did a review of that record this week, and so I'm kind of obviously talking it up. And Mark Zavon is a super cool guy, the guitar player behind it. We had a good conversation the other day. They have a song on there, Joey, called "You Can't Kill Me, California." And it's because Mark, I believe, is from the Midwest. He's not from California.
Okay,
don't quote me on that. But it's kind of like an anti-California song. It's kind of like talking shit about just it's a little bit of a political song. It's not anti-California, but it's just like, yo, all this stupid shit that happens in California you can't.
Yeah. We got what else? There's a metalcore band we got lined up for a couple weeks from now. Heart of a Coward.
Yeah,
I gotta check them out before we do that interview. Try
to
hear as much of their songs as I can. But
I just booked this band called Icarus Witch too, and I got to dive into their music. It looks more like probably up my alley. It's kind of like stoner metal.
Oh yeah, that's your stuff.
Do you like Baroness? Have you ever listened to Baroness?
No.
You've never listened to them?
Mm-mm.
Or you just don't like them?
Well, I mean, I never listened to them. I probably wouldn't like. I'm not big into the stoner metal type of thing, but
I don't. So, do you like bands like Mastodon or?
That's why I figure I probably wouldn't like Baroness.
Oh, okay, you probably wouldn't, and they have.
That's why I like talking to you. Like you and I have some overlap, but our tastes are so different.
Yes,
it's fun to talk music.
No, it's great too, because same with Eric. Like same with me and Eric. There's certain stuff that Eric loves that I love, and then there's other stuff that I love that Eric's like, nah.
Yeah, he always used to tease me about my Cookie Monster music.
And I'd be like, "Oh, shut up, you and your oh."
Yeah, his European symphonic.
But honestly,
some of those bands are great though. He got me into some bands.
Like I said, I used to hate Maiden when I was a kid. I was like, oh, I don't like. Now I love Maiden. Like, "Hallowed Be Thy Name" is like one of the greatest metal songs of all time. Like that band is so seminal for so many other things too. Like you don't even like Priest too. Priest is another one that like I kind of fucked with a little bit of Priest. Their guitar work is insane. Like if you're a guitar person, like listening to like the OG Priest stuff and the 2-part guitar stuff that they're doing, and then Halford, of course, is like the dude who pioneered that genre of power metal and like that vocal style. And it's just like,
oh yeah, there's music that I don't really dig, but like just looking at the talent, like, and
it probably influenced
phenomenal musicianship.
Yeah. And it probably influenced bands that you do like.
Yep, absolutely.
Is the other side of it.
Yeah, Eric got me into Sabaton. I mean, I never heard of them before, and now I really dig them.
I mean, Sabaton's the continuation of that type of stuff too. they're
Right.
like the modern day Maiden Priest.
Yeah,
Really.
but I love how, like, especially with Sabaton, you can learn more about history from them than you can, from a textbook.
Yeah. I love that. I love that about Maiden too. Like most of Maiden's stuff is based on classic literature. Like a lot of I would venture to say that pretty much all their records are based on a classic book. Like they're like a, you know what I mean? Like a thesis on a classic book.
Right.
Oh, here's Dino coming in. Here he is. Dino,
Hey, man.
How's it going?
welcome, man. Thank you so much for taking the time today.
No problem. I've been doing this all day today, so
You're doing the tour anyway.
yeah, pretty much.
Press tour.
The podcast tour.
Awesome. Well, we consider ourselves very lucky to have you, and we were just talking about the relevance of Fear Factory and how you really don't get enough respect for being kind of at the intersection of electronica and heavy music.
Yeah, electronic. I mean, there's been a lot of elements that we've had in our music. I mean, from day one. Everything from industrial, electronic, even techno, even dance music. All the way to, of course, death metal, grindcore. Or just metal in general. We've kind of been a mixture of a lot of things, and we were just guys that were really influenced by everything, and we wanted to try everything. We didn't have any fear trying new elements into our music, especially back then. You know what I mean? We were really trying to find out who we were. You know what I mean? And it was really until Demanufacture was where we really found out who we were and say, okay, this is who we are, and this is where we pretty much stayed. But a lot of records, we have a different approach on each record, and they're all different in their own way.
Yeah. How much time do we have you for today?
30 minutes.
Do you have a hard stop at 1:30? Okay. So I kind of want to ask you, like, to go all the way back to the formation of Fear Factory and just like tell me a little bit, like, tell your origin story. As you don't have to go into too much detail, but just a quick history of Fear Factory.
Okay. Well, Fear Factory, before we were Fear Factory, we all pretty much had me, Burton, and Raymond. We were in local bands in Los Angeles. We were all doing our own thing in different ways. And I ended up meeting Burton because I moved into basically like an artist loft, but it wasn't a loft. It was a big mansion, and it had 8 bedrooms. And so this one guy, he rented out each room to different artists.
Was this in Hollywood?
In Hollywood, yes. Right in the heart of Hollywood. Right in the heart. And so
I'm in Agora Hills, by the way, so I'm not too far away.
Yeah, you're 30 miles out. But yeah, so this is right in the heart of Hollywood, and it was 8 bedrooms, and each room was rented out to different artists. And one of the artists that was living there was Burton. And so I had moved in there because I met this guy named Alex, and Alex said, hey, if you're looking for a place to live, this guy's, renting out these rooms for only like a couple $100 a month, and all of us artists live there and this and that. So Alex turned out to be a drummer. And then I met Burton, and then there was another guy named Dave there. And so we started a band called Ulceration, which was like pretty much a Godflesh ripoff.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So you were already doing electronic.
Yeah, but I was working at a record store on Hollywood Boulevard, and one day Raymond Herrera, our drummer, had walked in there, and he was like, I started talking to him, and I said, hey man, I'm looking for a band, something more grindcore-ish. And he's like, oh, I know a perfect band. So I joined this called Excruciating Terror, which is just brutal, like, early Napalm Death, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Right. But I was like, I joined the group, but then I was like, I didn't think they were serious enough. And I wanted to, pursue something else. And I already had 2 bands already before that. I already had a band called the Douche Lords, which we were like an SOD meets Mentors lyrics type of music. So it was like thrash, punk thrash.
Okay.
And then I had another band called Brujeria, which we sang all in Spanish.
I was just going to ask you about that. I know Brujeria. Is that with Bill? Is Bill Gould from Faith No More?
Yeah, Billy Gould was in the band. Yeah, correct. And so I had these multiple bands going on but like everything was like a project band. You know what I mean? So I was looking for something more serious.
Mm-hmm.
So because everybody I was jamming with was in other bands, and it was just like a clusterfuck of local bands everywhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I was like, I was at rehearsal one day with the band called Excruciating Terror, grindcore, and the drummer didn't show up, and so Raymond had lived across the street from this band, and Raymond happened to stop by, and one of the other guitar players said, "Hey Raymond, why don't you get on the drums because the drummer didn't show up? Why don't you get up there and jam?" And so Raymond got back there, and he was like, "Holy fuck!" I heard his feet, and I was like, I got to link up with this guy somehow. And so I ended up quitting Excruciating Terror. I ended up started jamming with Raymond in his other band. He had a band. It was a horrible name. They were called Extreme Death. And so we had this band going on. And then we were jamming in Raymond's bedroom, writing songs. Already writing songs. I was like, I got to do anything just to jam with this guy. This guy is the shit. So I got to like do anything just to jam with him. So we were jamming in his bedrooms until the cops came and said they're going to take our gear if we don't stop playing because we're disturbing all the neighbors. So we had to find a rehearsal space. We found a rehearsal space, and Raymond's like, "Well, my band Extreme Death has got to rehearse here, so you might as well join the band." So I joined the band for like a week, and the singer the singer quit the band because he got a job working for Chippendales.
Oh no!
Funny story. And so I was like, "Ooh!" I go, "This is my opportunity." I said, "Raymond, I got the perfect guy. His name is Burton C. Bell," and so that's how Burton came into the band. We weren't called Fear Factory yet, and so we went through multiple bass players until finally, October 30th, 1990. We settled on the name Fear Factory, and that's when we became Fear Factory. So the three original members were me, Burton, and Raymond. And my roommate, Robert Murray, was the one who came up with the name Fear Factory. And I bought it from him for a box of Snickers and a few liters of Pepsi. He lived on sugar because he was a bike messenger in downtown LA. So he was delivering packages downtown LA on a bike.
That's a dangerous job.
Yeah, and so he hated cars. But he basically lived off sugar.
Wow. So you guys kind of moved into the and this is the era we were talking about because we were saying, Dino doesn't get enough credit for being, one of the kings of this genre or this part of metal, this electronic thrash. But the demanufacturer obsolete era, I guess talk a little bit about that era.
Well, going back, you can't talk about those eras until you talk about the beginning of the first album, The Soul of a New Machine.
Sure.
We went in to do that record, and we pretty much wore our influences on our sleeve. We were like a mixture between Godflesh, Napalm Death, Carcass, Helmet. I had a lot of groove in there with songs like Scapegoat, and there's a song called Martyr, which is the very first song on the record. So the riff to Martyr, it's actually a techno riff.
Oh, wow.
So we would play a lot of backyard parties when we first started in East LA, South Central. And after we would play, there would be a DJ that would come on and they would turn into a rave. So we play like a fucking death metal grindcore show. And then afterwards, it would turn into like a backyard party club where they would have DJs playing, early techno music.
Still a very common thing in East LA.
Yeah, well, there you go. You probably understand more than people out in Nebraska or Ohio. You know what I mean? You probably would get it.
I'm in Minnesota. I'm not into that stuff.
My son's band just played.
Well, I'm just saying. I mean, you could be into it, and not be into it, but if you went to a backyard death metal show and you saw an old school band like Terrorizer fucking playing grindcore, and then right when the drums were being broken down because the show was over, a DJ would come and be already set up playing techno, and you're still there drinking with your buddies, saying, "Fuck it, we're just gonna hang out and check out all these chicks." Exactly. It's so great. It didn't matter what if you were into that music or not. You were just having a good time. And that's
Mhm.
pretty much what it was. So listening to that music, I started getting influenced by it too, because a lot of times these techno guys, they had synth lines. They had like synth, I call them synth riffs. They
Yeah.
were riffs. Because when I heard them, I heard riffs when I heard those synth
Mhm.
lines in techno music. You know, like I'll give you an easy example. Mortal Kombat.
Yep.
You can turn it into a riff. You can turn it into a riff.
You
is
can go
what
back
I'm
to those
saying.
old video games. Mega
Correct.
Man.
Correct. So if you look at the song Martyr, the actual riff of Martyr is a techno riff
That's
that
crazy.
I just heard. And so that's kind of like where the birth of that idea came from.
You're an LA native, right?
No.
Where are you from
But
originally?
I'm a California native, but I'm not
Oh,
an LA native. I was born in El Centro, California,
okay.
which is about 3.5, 4 hours away from LA.
I know where El Centro is.
Yeah, it's down there. So it's next to the Mexican border.
Gotcha.
But anyways, just listening to electronic music, techno music, and we were just, at that time we were living in Los Angeles. It was the late 80s, early 90s, and it was just a slew of music coming out that was just amazing. Early industrial music, techno music, death metal, grindcore, early industrial stuff that was just like heavy stuff like Godflesh and of course Ministry and Nine Inch Nails and all that stuff. And we were just a sponge of all that music, and we just wanted to add all those elements into our music. But it wasn't until Demanufacture where we really solidified our sound. But I mean, to this day, no one has been able to prove us wrong that Fear Factory were the first band that added melodic and heavy vocals in a song. Now, people's like, well, this band had melodic vocals on one song and they had heavy on vocals on this song. Yeah, but they didn't combine them together. They were doing those. They were like the clean vocals were in one song only, and then heavy vocals on another song. They never combined them, and so I still haven't been able to find a band that's done that yet.
You could maybe say Mike Patton a little bit, but I think in your genre,
where? Tell me what song.
Not until Angel Dust, right?
Where?
On like
I was there. I was there when they were making those records. Tell me where.
Caffeine or something like that. Maybe.
Remember? Yeah.
But still, to your point, not in metal, not in heavy metal, like deathcore type metal. No way. No one.
No, well, just not in the way that we did it. Definitely not. And I don't really. I know that Mike Patton loved death metal and all that kind of stuff, but really don't see the combination of what he did.
Song,
Billy Gould was one of my good friends at that time.
Totally.
And so I was there when they were making.
Also, Faith No More is like not necessarily a metal band.
It doesn't matter if they were metal or not. Just tell me a band. And if you're talking about Angel Dust, that was after Fear Factory.
Sure. Around that time, but I'm not arguing with you. I don't disagree.
We already had Soul of a New Machine out. We already had Soul of a New Machine out when that record came out. As a matter of fact, in the video Midlife Crisis, you could see Billy Gould wearing a Fear Factory
shirt.
Yeah.
No, I mean, I don't.
I'm talking about before us. Like
before
no one has been able to show me. And a lot of people have argued with me about this, but no one has been able to show me any proof of anybody who's done that.
Who's done like the scream?
I'm not trying to toot my own horn because
I
already know what this is going to go on social media and everybody's going to care.
Did you just experience that this last week, Dino?
Oh, I already know everybody's going to tear it apart, and that's fine. They could do that, but
because I heard you wanted to be a new metal band.
No, that was
I'm joking with you.
You definitely misunderstood there.
Yeah, give them something to talk about. Hey,
no kidding. One thing I like about you, Dino, you're not afraid to take it on the internet and give it back to the trolls. So
of course.
Yeah, I love that.
They can suck it. No, I don't disagree. I think especially in the metal world, no one was doing scream sing thing before Soul of a New Machine. What year did that album drop?
Soul of a New Machine was 1992, but we did an album before that didn't come out until 15 years later was an album called Concrete. We had recorded that in 1991 with Ross Robinson,
Okay.
but it never came out until later on.
The Soul of a New Machine. That was just 31st anniversary. What, this last week or something?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
the band this October 1990 we started. This October will be 33 years that Fear
Wow.
Factory has existed. Yeah,
That's
What does
amazing.
that feel like?
feels like yesterday.
Wow.
30
I
years.
mean, metal is in my heart. It's there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But a lot of people, you know, I go back 33 years, so I've seen music in the music industry and changes within the music industry go up and down. You know what I mean? 1 minute your band could be on top, next minute another wave of new music, a new or new school of metal comes out, your band goes down, then everything comes back up again. So music comes and go. Styles of music and genres, even within the metal subgenres, they come and go.
Yeah.
And we've survived through all that stuff that's come and gone. For instance, I'll give you an example. Like when Nirvana came out back in '94, when that record Nevermind hit, it killed a lot of music that was out there. Like for instance, hair metal just died. It just overnight somebody fucking got a sword and fucking decapitated hair metal. That's how bad it was. And even thrash metal disappeared for a while. And people always want to argue me, what do you mean thrash metal has always been around? Yes, thrash metal has always been around, of course, but the bands disappeared. The physical bands disappeared for a while. You know what I mean? Exodus was gone for a while. Testament was gone for a while. All those bands were gone for a while. And then like back, 10 years later, all those bands that came back, and now it's mega thriving.
On that point too, about the thrash band, what you said about the thrash bands, there was a point in that era, because I remember it well, when everyone was trying to make their black album. Like Anthrax did The Sound of White Noise, Megadeth did Countdown to Extinction. So like all those thrash bands in that era kind of tried to go a little more commercial.
And if you remember, even Slayer at that point kind of went down. They were playing clubs.
Yep.
You know what I mean? They kind of went down. So, it's everybody, everybody who's in this music industry, I'm not talking about the fans, because the fans really don't know how this works. You know what I mean? But everybody in the music industry, they experience, up highs and lows of your band. It just happens. Sometimes your band's it and you're up there, and sometimes your band's not it and you're down here, and it just comes and goes.
So one of the things I have a ton of respect for you for is just keeping the band alive. So let's talk about the current incarnation of Fear Factory, because I heard the new singer sounds amazing and the new band sounds fantastic. Joey, I think, saw you guys recently.
Yeah, I saw you guys here in Minneapolis last April, and I mean it was a great show. I think you guys just sounded awesome. So
was that for what was that for?
With Static X.
The Static X tour, yeah. We were firing on all cylinders. We were just getting started. We just had a new singer, so he was definitely finding his place, and he found it pretty quickly. Yeah. And we did like already. We played like, I don't know. I was counting the other day, and it was like over 60 shows in like 3 months.
Wow,
it was crazy. Or 4 months. Like 60 shows. And
does he live in the States now, or
no? He lives in Italy, so he comes and goes.
Okay,
he comes and goes. Yeah. I don't want to take him out of his where he's from or nothing of that stuff. Unless he decides to move here, it's up to him. But I think it's good that he goes back home, gets grounded. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hangs out with his friends and family out there, and then come back and get to work. I don't want to overkill the guy, because we have a lot of tour dates coming up this year and next year. I won't be home for the next 3 months.
Damn.
Yeah.
Well,
that feels good, I'm sure.
He looks committed. He got a Fear Factory tattoo now, so I think he's committed. Yeah.
He's in.
Yeah. Yeah, he got the Obsolete album cover tattooed on his shoulder. And it's cool. Yeah, he's definitely very committed. I mean, he was he was a big fan before he
Right.
joined the band, and it was kind of weird because he was like quoting things that I said that I forgot that I said, because he, being in Italy, being a big fan, he went down the rabbit hole of Fear Factory, looking at all the interviews, and over the years, I believe he said he became a huge fan back in I think it was 2009, 2010, and so he would watch all our live performances on YouTube and listen to all the podcast interviews and things that we've said over the years, and he was quoting me on things that I said, 20 years ago that I forgot that I even said that.
So did he bring like a new energy back to you guys and just kind of light a fire?
Yes and no. No, I've always had the fire. I don't need anybody to bring me new energy, but it does feel good when you have somebody who can match that energy that you have.
Sure.
You understand what I'm saying? Because
Yep.
for a while there, I just felt that, and I'm speaking off the cuff here, that Burton C. Bell was just kind of phoning things in. He was just kind of going through the motions, and it just felt like he didn't want to be there. And so it was kind of lacking. The band was going down for a little while, and it just, as soon as Milo came in, it was a breath of fresh air to play with somebody who wanted to be there, and that felt really good. And I was like, and of course, all the trolls are going to come after me for saying that, but
They can
it is what it is. I mean, I lived through it. I was there. I was next to the people.
The reality is, if you don't have everyone in the band rowing in the same direction, what's the point? Like, that makes total sense to me. I mean, why drag him along?
Right.
Yeah.
If he doesn't want to go.
And people ask me the same question that you have. It's like, well, did you bring new energy? I'm like, did you bring new life into the band? Yeah, yes, he did, because like I said, he's matching my energy that I have for this band. You got to remember, I live, breathe, die Fear Factory. I live, breathe, and die fucking metal and all different forms of it. I live for this shit. I love it, and that's why I'm still here.
Well, I saw that energy last April when I saw you guys. I mean, like, this dude's in his, what are you, mid-50s, and you're still bringing it. I was taking pictures of the show. I got one picture of you like mid headbang, and your eyes are like going back in your head. You can't even see your pupils. You look possessed, and I'm like, this guy's he's just still headbanging hard. And
yeah, man, it's something that you created, man. It's art that you created that you can share with other people, and if you give them that enjoyment and they love it, I mean, it definitely, it gets me going, and it gives me, more incentive to keep going, because people love what you do. And that's what I enjoy the most.
People can sense that it's genuine. And I've seen you out at shows, man. I've seen you. I've lived in the Hollywood area. I've seen you out at like metal shows on your own, just out seeing bands yourself too. So
yeah, all the time. I mean, I'm around locally, stuff like that. I do a lot of stuff around here. So
yeah, I have tons of respect for you keeping it going, because you want to do it, and it does suck. Like, I've been in bands where it's like you feel like you're dragging someone along with you, and that's never fun. You got to have people. Everyone in the band has to be, wanting to play.
Yeah, a lot of fans, I understand, they don't really know what it's like, or maybe they do. It's a relationship. Sometimes it's just not working out with that person you're with. And sometimes you just need a change.
And it doesn't take anything away from the stuff you guys already did with Burton. Like, that legacy is already solidified. Like, he already has that. He has that forever. But if he doesn't want to keep doing it and he doesn't have the energy to upkeep it, that shouldn't stop you from doing it.
Yeah. It's all this stuff is a catch-22, because like, if you get a singer that sounds like your old singer, then people are going to complain. Oh, it sounds like the old singer,
right?
And then if you get a singer that doesn't sound like the old singer, oh, he doesn't sound like the old stuff. It's like, okay. And then if you get a girl singer, if you get a female, well, she sounds too much like a female. It doesn't sound like the old singer. I'm like,
Jesus.
You guys almost had Lauren, didn't you? Like, yeah.
A lot of Lauren was one of the ones that was definitely in the running.
Yeah, that was cool.
To be the singer. But Milo just knew everything. And
Yeah.
when I say that, it's like Milo, when he came to the physical audition, the first day he did like, I don't know, 5 or 6 songs. And I was like, just whatever song I threw at him, he got. So I invited him again the second day because he was in LA for a few days. I said, well, come back again. I want to hear more. And so he came back again the second day, and he nailed like another 8 songs. He did like, I don't know, 10 or 15 songs. So whatever I threw at him, he knew it. He sang it. Didn't have to look at his phone for lyrics.
True,
Nothing.
man. Yeah.
Boom.
You're
He
like, I can
knew-
tour with this guy.
Yeah. It was an easy transition.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Do you guys have plans to write new material with Milo?
Of course.
Yeah, that'll
What do
be
you think
awesome.
I'm doing? What do you think I'm
stoked
doing?
to hear it.
Sitting on the couch talking to you guys?
Yeah. I figured.
Yeah, man. Of course.
Stupid questions.
Any timeline for a new album? Or do you have any?
Next year. It's going to be next year. For
Next
sure.
year,
We got
okay.
so much touring coming up. You guys see my schedule. It's brutal.
Well, I saw you guys are doing Metal Injection Festival coming up here
Yep.
soon, and that's going to be like a reunion, seeing a lot of old friends there, I bet.
Well, yeah, of course, Testament, Machine Head. That's
Yeah.
insane bands. I love them.
Yeah.
Love them both, and I can't wait to play with those guys. I wish there was a tour like that.
Yeah.
Well, the good news is because of COVID, everyone's like hungry for live shows, and I feel like with my son's generation, metal is like everybody wants to see a band like Fear Factory. So you got it.
I hope so. But you know what? One of the funny thing is that since COVID opened up, and this is something I was predicting a while ago, a couple years ago, I was saying, look, once live music opens up, it's going to be an oversaturation of all these bands touring at once, and it's exactly happened. A lot of bands are touring at once. A lot of tours are getting announced, and there's a lack of bus drivers and a lack of buses.
Wow.
Like there's bands who are canceling tours because they can't find transportation. I don't know if you guys know this.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
The economics of live music.
And
The
just
supply
everything's going up. Our guarantees are not changing. People's wages are not changing, but
Mhm.
prices are getting more expensive, and and it's really rough for bands out there to go out there and tour and survive. But people are making it happen, and they're doing it, and that's the positive thing about it, is that they're still able to make it happen. So
Yeah. Well, the new formed Fear Factory sounds fucking fantastic, and I'm excited to see you guys next time you play LA. So
yeah, well, the closest place is Anaheim at that Metal Injection Festival.
maybe I'll get down to that.
And then next year for sure will be, I can't give you the exact date. I can't even tell you the tour, but it's going to be a great tour starting January, February next year. And we will be at the Belasco again in February. So
Hell yeah. Awesome. I'll definitely be there.
Are you
here
making it
downtown.
up north here
Yes.
too?
Of course, we'll be in Minneapolis, and
Awesome.
Sounds like you're going to
Exactly.
be on the road heavily. So,
correct. And we're
Be
getting
everywhere.
offers left and right. It's crazy.
oh, that's
Great.
great, man. I love to
Yeah.
hear it. Well, we're up on 30 minutes, man. I don't want to hold you if you got another engagement. But thank
Yeah.
you so much for coming on, and please come back, man. Please come back through and talk to us again.
Hey, man, I totally appreciate you guys giving me this platform to talk and to tell my story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
Hey, happy birthday. What are you doing for your birthday?
I'll be with my family this Saturday.
Okay.
We'll
Because
be
it's in
at
a
that-
couple days, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Saturday. Yeah, so I'll be hanging with the family and having a good time.
Awesome. Blessings, man.
Yeah. Dino, it's been an honor, man. Like like I said, you're one of the forefathers of industrial thrash, and it's an honor to talk to you, man. We appreciate it, and
Thank
we
you,
wish
man.
you all the best, and hope to see you guys out there.
Appreciate it, man. And I want to give a big shout out to all the fans out there who supported us in the last 33 years. I appreciate that. And we'll see you on the road.
Awesome, man. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Take care of yourself.
Bye.
That was fun.
Yeah. He's on a tight schedule. I would have loved to go into the weeds a lot more on some stuff, but
Yeah. With 30 minutes though, it's always hard.
yeah, totally. And I don't want to keep him over time, because I'm sure he's got other obligations to attend to. So
I got to show you this picture. Can I send you a picture in the chat?
yeah. You can share it. You can show it on the screen too, I believe. You should be able
I better find the one with the watermark on it here.
I think if you do slides. Did you see I recut that typo negative interview with Brian's photo of Kenny running around with the
No,
giant
I didn't
dildo?
get a chance to see it yet. I know you sent me the link, but
I wish he would have published more of those photos, but I'm sure we'll get back to that. If we're still doing this heavy next year, we'll do another round of
yeah, I don't think I put this picture on the website when I posted my review and stuff, but since we talked about it, I'll share it. Yeah, I don't know how to get it on here. Where do I put it?
If you go, do you have a chat window? I have a control window. If you just do present and hit like slides or share screen, you should be able to open the file on your desktop.
I'll just have it on my desktop here.
Just share your screen. The platform is pretty good about like only showing a portion
Oh
of.
shoot, yeah, I can't. Hold on.
You could email it to me too, and I can just download it out of email and share it too.
Dang it! Now I don't know how to get out of here.
Because the chat that I have is there is a private chat. Here we go. Can you send? I don't know if you can you could maybe drag and drop a photo.
Yeah, I'll try that.
Now we're like screwing around on live stream with but no,
I just wanted to share
Bill
this
Nye,
photo
the
if
science
possible.
guy, thank you so much for jumping in the comments. Like, I hope more people do this in the future, and it's totally badass that we are able to broadcast out to multiple destinations during this, Facebook, Rumble, and YouTube simultaneously. So big props to Dino for coming on. Like that was so awesome. I've seen him, like I said, I see him out at shows all the time in LA, and I've never actually like walked up to him and shook his hand or anything, mostly because when I see celebrities out in public, I'm just like, I know they want to be left alone, so I don't usually bother them. And most of the time I don't want to bother them anyway. I'm usually busy doing something else. So, but
I'll bother him. I'm shameless.
I can no. Yeah. I'm not trying to like
that's my chance. I'm gonna try.
Totally. It depends. It depends. I mean, I'm also in Hollywood, so
sure. Yeah, you would probably run into him a lot more.
But the only reason I brought that up is because Dino is legitimately like a fan of metal. Like he's out at shows, fucking doing his thing.
That's what I said. It's the same as Max Cavalera. I mean, the dude just breathes metal and loves bringing on new bands and promoting them, and it's the real deal.
And to that point, it's like, man, I love Burton C. Bell, and all due respect to him and the legacy that he has with that band, but just him being kind of lazy about it and not being into touring. I also understand that. Like, you get to a certain age where you don't want to jump in a bus and tour anymore.
Right.
Hell yeah. But like, you can't let that hold the rest of the guys up,
Yep.
But anyway, if you want to email me or whatever.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. Maybe you can put it in the video at some point or something.
I can cut it in post.
It's kind of funny because he's like mid headbang and his eyes are like rolling back in his head, and it's hilarious.
When I first moved to LA, I think I told you one of the first shows I saw was Fear Factory, Seven Dust, and I believe Stained.
That's
Stained,
one band I have yet to see yet. So
Stained in there, like in those days, they were pretty badass. Like they had some good stuff. There's some good stuff on that first record that they put out, and that's all. So I don't know if I told you this whole backstory, but I was thinking about it because Dino was always out at shows in that era too. But there was an era where when I played in this band, Fred Durst was like heavy in Hollywood, like trying to sign bands, and of course, that's one of the bands he signed, not in Hollywood, but the band he signed here. I was actually at this label showcase he did for his Flawless Records imprint, and he signed that band Puddle of Mud. And I like fell asleep during their set. I wasn't that impressed with them.
I never really liked them.
I mean, when their set, I was like, oh, this guy's totally trying to be like the new Kurt Cobain. Like he's totally got the aesthetic. He's trying to like, he has the like kind of scratchy voice and everything. No disrespect to Puddle of Mud either, because they have some good stuff. But it was funny because a couple of the bands he was showcasing were like totally like rap rock bands, just the total like, but anyway, in that era, Fear Factory was top. That was like, they were top, like he said, the wave thing, like they were at the
Right.
top of the wave right then, because it was right after Obsolete had come out, and at least in the underground world, like metalheads were like, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, we can wrap it up, man. That was a great interview. Thanks for jumping on, Joey, and let's solidify that thing with Zayo.
Yeah.
And we got, what's that band, Heart of a Coward?
Yeah, I think that's what it was.
Is a UK metal band we got coming up. I just solidified some stuff with this band called Icarus Witch, and then we're gonna have Johnny Kelly, also from Typo Negative, and then this band called Messer, the guy's name is Maddox Messer, and they do it's kind of like a little bit more upbeat, positive type metal. But like I said, I love the diversity of talent that we've been having on, like just heavy bands coming on and talking about what they're doing. And it like we were talking about earlier, like it makes me get into bands that I might not have otherwise jumped into myself. So hopefully it does the same for other people.
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
thank you for joining us, Kill Nye, in the comments. We appreciate you.
Yeah, no kidding. That was awesome.
And come back again, man. We'll be on again next week. So thank y'all, and take good care of yourselves out there. This is the Brutal Planet team signing off, and I'm gonna play us off with this outro. Take care, y'all.